Welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the 13th Delegate Conference of the Nigerian Labour Congress, which just concluded during the week. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back. It's the 13th Delegate Conference of the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC). Ayuba Wabba, who welcomed guests to the conference, called on the federal government to address the hardship brought upon Nigerians by the Naira redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN). Wabba said many citizens can neither buy nor sell for lack of new and old Naira notes, blaming the development on poor implementation of the cashless policy.
When many Nigerians have been pushed to the wall, owing to the chaotic situation in our banks and filling stations, where Nigerians are queuing up endlessly to access new currency notes and PMS.
Oil is now so fuel at between 300 and 600 naira per litre in some parts of the country, if you can get it to buy. Today, Naira is appreciating against the Naira. If you want to change 1,000 naira in a POS, you have to bring 1,200 naira. So Naira is appreciating against Naira. And it has never happened in our history of 63 years.
The Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, stressed the need for establishment of more industries as a catalyst for job creation.
In agriculture, our focus had always been on the export, production and export of raw produce. But we must focus, as we have begun to in the past few years, focus on adding value. But we, Nigeria, can be the factory for this continent. As China is the factory of the world, Nigeria can be the factory for Africa and then become the factory as we go along for the rest of the world. We have been discussing the prospects already of zero taxes for machinery generally, because whenever you import a machine,
the conference, which has as its theme Building People's Power, National Unity and Quest for a New Social Contract, will run for 2 days. It's been a week of intense engagement for workers in Nigeria over improved welfare. At the closing ceremony of the 13th Delegate Conference of the NLC, deliberations commenced with adoption of reports by various committees, followed by dissolution of the Ayuba Wabba-led administration.
Been returned unopposed. If you support that idea, you must also indicate by raising up your ballot papers.
Shortly after, new leaders emerged as Joe Ajaero was elected as the national president of the NLC.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
The NLC will pursue with utmost urgency a new national minimum wage law.
During his acceptance speech, Ajaero lamented the deficit in the number of decent jobs in the country. He added that workers will have no option than to go on strike over the issue of fuel scarcity and shortage of Naira notes in the country. Other executive members of the union spoke about expectations of workers for the next 4 years.
With the new leadership right now, I can ask every Nigerian and every masses that they should watch out for a new, renewed Congress.
He has given his words. He has given 1 week that the government should do something. So, and I believe in what he's saying. So, the country is shaking. So, and I believe the new ESCO will do better.
As workers continue to demand for a new social contract at the just concluded 13th Delegate Conference held here in Abuja, Nigeria, it can be said that workers are re-energized towards ensuring that the unions are more viable, which in turn means that workers' rights will be protected.
I must tell you that is a very imperative demand given the suffering of the people, both locally and globally. And of course, we are coming out from the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, and we are trying to recover back better. And the only way you can do that is to come out with policies that have a human face, policies that will address issues that concerns the workers, the populace, policies that will talk about ensuring that people live and live well as human beings. We are talking about the issue of decent work, and decent work is talking about having a minimum wage, having a living wage where it's possible, and also all the variables that are required in a workplace to work perfectly well. And also, more importantly, to strengthen social dialogue. There must be discussion in terms of how policies come about. You get the social actors to be involved, the trade union, the government, and also the employers to be involved in all those things. So it's a welcome development that the NSC at the 13th edition are talking about a new social order.
As you rightly pointed out, a lot have been said. And to my members or members of Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria, I wanted to assure them that the current leadership under His Royal Majesty His Royal Majesty Dr. Biobele Moejo Jeshaya, the union will continue to do everything possible to ensure that the social contract review it affects the life of each and every member of Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria.
So, is there any current challenge you think the union leadership
we have the challenges are very enormous, and I think time will not even allow me or permit me to mention all of them. But whatever issues and challenges, I know the current leadership is doing everything possible to address it. I think bit by bit, because it can be addressed at once. So I can assure you that the leadership is aware of all the challenges, more especially particularly related to social dialogue and all other things that affect the members' welfare of our members.
I believe the leadership, the new leadership will put its energy, more of its time in ensuring that is put into practice. More importantly, if you see the economic situation globally we are facing, because the current wages is nothing to write home about compared with the inflations of both foodstuff and the exchange rate of the naira. 30,000 minimum wage is nothing to write, and there's nothing a worker can do with 30,000. If you compare, most people compare the analysis of the issue of bag of rice, how much it is cost and how much is the minimum wage. For me, mine is to go beyond all that, because when you take your health issue, which is more important, how much drugs cost, which is more genuine and important than even the other issue. So I assured the workers in Nigeria that the new leadership will focus and insist and ensure decent work, protection, social order is restored in the workplaces.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with Comrade Ayuba Wabba, who was the president of Nigerian Labour Congress for 8 years and also served as the international president of the International Trade Union Confederation. He spoke to us about his experience leading the workforce globally and locally, and what experiences that workers should expect from the new crops of leaders. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
And congratulations on a successful handover.
Thank you.
It's been 8 years of leading the Nigerian workforce. How would you describe this journey, and what would you say is your greatest achievement?
Well, first, let me thank God Almighty and also thank the affiliates of the Nigerian Labour Congress. And importantly also the Medical and Health Workers Union that put me forward for election to the office of the president of the NLC. And I was elected in 2015 as the 6th president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. I feel fulfilled, and I think I must return all the glory to God for bringing me to a very successful end of tenure. There have been a lot of challenges because usually If the polity have challenges like we have in Nigeria, in all sectors of the economy, workers will be affected. Is it the social sector, the economy, and all the sectors are actually impeded. And basically, many workers will also feel those challenges. And one of the greatest challenge which workers face today, which also remains a challenge, is the issue of dwindling fortune of our economy. The Naira have continued to depreciate against major currencies, including local currencies around us, and therefore it has affected the purchasing power of not only workers, but Nigerians. But why workers are particularly hit is because of the fact that they are on fixed wages. Workers on fixed wages will actually feel the impact most than even businesses, because businesses can change their prices. If a price of good is 5 naira today, due to inflation or due to factors, it can be increased. Like we have 8 years ago, a loaf of bread in Abuja is 200 naira, 250. Today, a loaf of bread is 1,000 naira. And you can see the chaotic situation in our filling stations. So workers are actually feeling the pinch the most. And therefore, the most challenging for my administration is how to try to get something out for workers so that they can fall back to in this very difficult situation. And you can see that we have tried to engage some of those neoliberal policies, especially this issue of multiple exchange rates. I'm not sure it has helped the economy. We realize that our issue is not much about funds, it's how to manage those funds, including the states. And some of them, they try to embark on white elephant projects that don't have direct bearing with the life of the people. And that's why, if you look at the statistic, multidimensional poverty have actually increased. And we have more than 133 million people now falling into poverty. So this is the real situation. If the whole country is prospering, workers certainly will prosper. But if the economy is at the stage it is now, workers will actually feel the impact the most. And therefore, unions will also feel the impact. So this has been a very challenging moment to try to strike a balance and see how best we can be able to get something for our members, and also to try to address some of those challenges. So this is really, for me, the most important challenge, that a worker working, not that he's not working, but he cannot be able to have 3 meals per day in his house, I think is the most challenging thing that have happened to workers.
You decided to say more of the challenges than achievements.
Yes, you asked me of the challenges.
I told you achievements.
Yes.
But okay, I will still ask you another question that is still going to refer to achievement.
Yeah.
We were lucky in Africa to have you as the global president to serve not just Nigeria or African workers, but the world. And there were quite a number of countries, workers in different countries across the continent that were reporting to you. I am aware of some of your achievements, but I want you to say it.
Well, maybe
I want you to share with us what your experience was serving at the international level.
Well, first, let me start from here at home. In the last 8 years, we have tried to provide leadership to our movement. And we have also tried to do a lot in terms of improving the situation of what we met on ground, because it's a continuum. Part of the issues, we have continued to engage various campaigns to try to improve the lives of ordinary workers. The first campaign that we staged was the fight against corruption, because corruption is a cankerworm that has affected our society. The main reason that Nigerians are not prosperous is because few of our leaders try to loot our commonwealth. And therefore, in that circumstance, we must continue to prioritize the issue of a transparent system and the respect for the rule of law. So that was the first campaign that we had. And you remembered it, we came out with some outcomes, including the issue of whistleblowers, including the issue of saying that we should have specialized courts to be able to try offenders, including limiting the period where once complaints are established, then justice can be dispensed. And including, you remember the issue of capital punishment, which we have canvassed for, that if somebody stole up to 1 billion naira, which means he has affected the life of many, many Nigerians, that basically it should attract capital punishment. All of these were recommendations that were very central to addressing the issue of corruption, and those documents we have used to campaigns around issues of good governance. The second one we took up is the issue of national security. The issue of national security today, I think, is something of concern because whereas 8 years back, we are looking at possibly the Northeast and few cases of kidnapping, but today we now have a multidimensional security challenge. So we had a very national security summit, and we came up also with reports that there is a connect between the issue of security and also the issue of welfare of citizens, including providing social services. And that when people are not engaged, there is a tendency that they can be the devil's workshop. And basically, some of those that are engaging in crime are youths that are well educated. But because they have not been catered for, then these issues do happen. So we made a very clear recommendation on what can be done to be able to address this issue. You also remember the recurring issue of either subsidy or the issue of hike in tariff of electricity. These issues also we engage. And we came with a new perspective. We realized that this is an issue we have engaged for the past 30 years. And in the past, what Labour does is to try to engage the issue and then try to get some price reduction. But if you look at the history, we have always come back to the same point. And the last engagement we had in 2020 is actually for NLC and organized labor to come with a template on how best we can be able to fix this issue on a permanent basis. We came to the negotiation table with the mindset of saying that, no, it's not just about price reduction. It's about how do we have a policy that can address this challenge on a permanent basis, whether removal of subsidy or you call it deregulation, whatever you call it, we want a permanent solution to it. And it's not rocket science. We came to the conclusion that the best recommendation is actually to fix the refineries. And we insisted that we are not going to sign any agreement about price reduction or price modulation outside the issue of fixing the refinery. And you remember it was the outcome of those discussions that led to the Port Harcourt refinery to be reactivated. And also, just recently, government is talking about Kaduna. And basically, I think is the way to go. The best way to go is actually to make our refineries work and encourage private refineries also to come in. This is a policy engagement that we have had over 30 years, but under our watch, we have tried to insist that there is a better option than just price modulation. And that better option is what we have tried to pursue. And we remain very committed, and I'm sure my colleagues will take over from there. So it's one issue that I think we were well focused about how to get these things right, including the electricity tariff. We realized that the problem of electricity tariff is actually the high cost of gas. And part of the decision that was taken is that since gas is already a commodity that we have here, why must we sell it to the GENCOs at international price? And there was a clear recommendation that went to government to say that you can peg the price of gas for domestic use at this price, and therefore it will stabilize the price of per kilowatt of electricity. So that is also a policy discussion that we are well focused about advising government on what best to do. By and large, these are some of the areas. At the international level, unions thrive on solidarity. And we have tried to extend a lot of solidarity to our colleagues. Because when we're in difficulty also, we expect our colleagues from around the world to also extend solidarity to us. So we have extended a lot of solidarity to our colleagues around the world. And many of them, when they are in difficulty, like the case of Zimbabwe, the case of Myanmar, the case of Sudan, the case of workers in Western Sahara, our colleagues in Cuba, and lastly, Brazil. We also extended a lot of solidarity to Inácio Lula da Silva when he was incarcerated just because he wanted to come back to power, and the workers and citizens of Brazil wanted him back. He was incarcerated, It was the solidarity of the global workforce that actually brought Lula out of prison and then back to presidency. That I can say without mixing words, because I visited Sao Paulo on 2 occasions to try to also give our own solidarity. So we have been able to achieve a lot. I was able to also interface with many countries around the world. It has given me the opportunity, holding that office, to travel to more than 70 countries because we are members of the G20 meeting. Side by side with G20 is L20. And I remembered the last one I attended before COVID was a G20 meeting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And the last one is the one that took place in December in Indonesia. So basically, it provides us a lot of opportunity to be able to interface.
No, it was detailed, but another aspect that I found interesting in your style of leadership is that of gender balance and inclusivity for youths.
Yes.
What message do you have for unions in terms of encouraging women participation and youth participation?
Yes, at the international level, opportunity is given to both genders, both male and female. In fact, at the International Trade Union Confederation, it's 50-50. If the delegates are 1,000, it means half of it must be women and half of it must be men. And also, a percentage is reserved for youth. This is the way to go, because whether we like it or not, if you look at our demographics, youths are more in number and women. And in most cases, they have something to offer, but they don't have the opportunity. Even our polity today, you find out that if you look at the age bracket, those that are holding forth are people possibly over 50, if you look at the average. So we must change this situation and narrative, because for you to be able to fit into this modern world that is fast changing, you need to have energy, you need to have the intellectual ability, but importantly, you must also have what it takes to be able to provide leadership at this challenging period. I started as a youth. In fact, my first trade union election was when I was under 20. And I knew what I've been able to achieve all those years, 33 years. So basically, there is something you can do when you are young. And there are things you cannot do once you are over 70. It's reality. There is diminishing return. So basically, that's why trade unions, we try to recruit our members at their early ages. And that's why it was under my leadership, we actually had the first NLC Youth Conference, where we brought youths from all our affiliate unions. And under my watch, we have tried to expand that frontier. Women at this conference, we will have 30% women participating. So gradually, and 10% are youths. So gradually, we are working also towards having 50-50, and where youth can be more than 30%. That is the way to go, because we realize that if you look at what our youths are doing, even within our country, in terms of innovation, and in terms of their thinking, and in terms of the energy they are deploying in the IT world, and even in sports, it then means even in the entertainment industry, it then means that our youths have something to offer, and we don't want to miss them out of the unions. So that's why in the last 4 years, we have tried to create a structure for them. We have integrated them, but importantly is that they are now part of leadership.
Finally, fun fact about you shared during the conferences, you've participated in 13 elections and you've never lost one. What word of inspiration would you give to aspiring unionists towards excelling while trying to be a labor leader?
Well, in trade unions, workers actually appreciate when somebody is committed, when somebody is sympathetic to the cause of workers, and when somebody share in our core values, and importantly in philosophy and ideology. So I was actually very lucky at a very young age, after being the president of my student union government. After my employment, I think under 1 year, because when I was the president of the student union movement, I think we did our best. And therefore, some of my colleagues around that got employed almost the same time like myself, saw reason to try to rally around me, even when we are workers, to say that, no, you have done it before, so why not come into the union? Because at that time I knew not much about union, but basically some of our elders and veterans, when we were in school, identified me at a very young age and said, no, this guy can actually provide leadership. And that was the grace of God. And that's how actually I came into the union, serving out as president of NLC and also the immediate past president of ITUC Global. I've actually passed through 13 elections, and God was so faithful. In the little effort we have tried to do wherever we are, people have seen reason and have seen our commitment to say that, yes, there is genuine commitment to lead, and therefore they have given us the opportunity to lead. And I must thank my primary union, the Medical and Health Workers Union, that first identified me as a young person, a young health worker, and then gave me the opportunity from the shop floor level or the branch level up to being the national president of the union. And I think record has it that I have been the longest serving president of Medical and Health Workers Union, if I'm not mistaken, because I served for almost 10 years. And it was from there they then sponsored me to represent them also at NLC. And I can tell you that for the last 16 years, I had unbroken record of service here at NLC. My first election was treasurer, which I served for 8 years. And then I took over from Comrade Abdulwahid Ibrahim Umar. Basically, I think that is how my trade union journey began. It was under my leadership also that we documented the history of NLC. And you remember that was the part of the 40-year anniversary of NLC, where we commissioned a committee to document the struggle and travails of NLC in the last 40 years.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.